I don't even know where to begin. Maybe with the moment my husband warned me, because that was the first time someone tried to save me from myself, and I laughed in his face. My name's Isabella Grant, and if I'm being honest, I used to think I was untouchable. Perfect job, beautiful house, great husband, growing career, the kind of life people double tap on Instagram and envy in silence. Nathan, my husband, was everything I thought I wanted at first. Calm, intelligent, reliable. A corporate lawyer with a reputation for being ruthlessly composed. He handled everything like a contract, clear, organized, emotionless. And maybe that's what killed us. He never yelled, never begged, never fought. Just observed. The kind of man who could stare at you for 3 seconds and make you feel like you'd already lost the argument. 8 years into marriage, I'd gotten used to him not reacting. So when one random Tuesday morning over coffee, he looked up from his laptop and said, "If you invite your boss to your birthday, our marriage is over." I actually laughed. Like really laughed. Head tilted back. You can't be serious kind of laugh. Nathan, you're unbelievable. He's my boss, not some random guy. He didn't blink. Didn't raise his voice. Just said, "I'm not joking, Isabella. Don't test me on this." And then he went back to reading an email. I remember sitting there, staring at him, the man who used to leave me flowers on my desk when I had bad days, now talking to me like I was a liability. I brushed it off. He was being insecure, jealous, overdramatic. That's what I told myself. What Nathan didn't understand was that Ethan Parker, my boss, wasn't some creep. He was brilliant, charismatic, the kind of man who could make a meeting room feel like a movie scene just by walking in. People respected him, admired him. He respected me. At least that's what I thought. He made me feel seen in a way Nathan hadn't in years. Nathan respected me as a wife. Ethan admired me as a woman. And I was starving for that kind of attention. So when my birthday was coming up, Ethan joked in the office. "I hope I'm invited, Isabella. You know I can't resist champagne." And I said, half flirting, half testing boundaries, "Of course. Wouldn't be a party without you." I still remember that exact moment, because that's when I chose my downfall and smiled doing it. Nathan didn't say anything for days after that coffee warning. No fights. No sulking. He even helped me set up the lights in the backyard for the party. Quiet, helpful, polite. And I thought, see? He's over it. I had no idea silence could be a weapon. The night of my party, everything looked perfect. Champagne fountains, gold lighting, a live jazz band playing slow covers of pop songs. I wanted it to look expensive. Because I wasn't just celebrating a birthday. I was performing success. I remember walking down the stairs in my new red dress, the one Ethan had said looked powerful when I showed him a photo. Nathan looked at me for a few seconds, then said quietly, "That's the dress, huh?" His voice wasn't angry, just tired. "Ethan likes it," I said. I'll never forget his reply. "Of course he does." And that was it. He poured himself a drink and stayed out of my way. The guests arrived, coworkers, neighbors, a few influencer friends from networking events. Everyone was buzzing, laughing, taking videos. My phone kept lighting up with story mentions. And then Ethan walked in. Late as always. He had that effortless confidence, expensive suit, slick hair, that smirk that always made people pay attention. I swear, when he stepped into the backyard, the music almost faded in my head. I went to him instantly. I didn't even think about Nathan watching. I hugged Ethan long enough that it stopped being professional. He smelled like cologne and victory. "You look incredible," he whispered. "You're late," I teased. "Worth the wait," I laughed. "Always." I could feel Nathan's eyes somewhere in the crowd, but I ignored it. In that moment, I felt powerful, adored, desired, untouchable. The party kept going. Drinks, music, flashing lights, perfect chaos. I was tipsy, floating, living in the image I'd built. Then came the speech. Someone handed me a mic and told me to say something. I was glowing, confident, reckless. So I climbed onto a chair, raised my glass, and said, "Thank you everyone for being here. But there's one person who deserves special thanks, someone who believed in me, pushed me, supported me when I doubted myself. And I looked directly at Ethan. Ethan, I wouldn't be where I am without you. Everyone clapped. Some people whistled. Ethan smiled like he'd just won something. And Nathan? He stood near the bar, finished his drink, walked up to me quietly, leaned close, and said, "Happy birthday." Then he turned and left. No anger. No scene. No goodbye. Just gone. I remember rolling my eyes, pretending not to care, laughing with my friends to hide the knot forming in my stomach. But something about the way he left felt final. I told myself he was being dramatic, that he'd come back after cooling off. I didn't realize he wasn't cooling off. He was burning everything down, silently, efficiently, like a man who'd already made peace with revenge. That night, I went to sleep thinking I'd won. I didn't know the party wasn't the climax. It was the crime scene. For the first 2 days after the party, I didn't even notice Nathan was gone. That's how full of myself I was. The night he walked out, I barely flinched. I kept dancing, laughing, soaking in compliments about my dress, about the decor, about how amazing the party looked on Instagram. By the next morning, my phone was blowing up. People had tagged me in stories, reels, posts. My red dress became its own trend in my circle. I sat there scrolling through comments while sipping my latte like everything was perfect. Nathan didn't text, didn't call. And I thought, good. Let him sulk. By the second day, I started to get slightly annoyed. I called him, no answer. I texted, "You done being dramatic?" Nothing. Still, I brushed it off. I told my friend, he'll come back once he cools off. By the fourth day, the silence stopped being peaceful. It started feeling like a wall closing in. I came home from work early that Thursday. The house was too quiet. His shoes were gone from the hallway. His favorite mug wasn't in the kitchen. I checked the bedroom closet. Half empty. That's when my stomach dropped. Around 4 p.m., I heard a key turn in the lock. The door opened. Nathan walked in.
Calm. Cold.
Dressed like he'd just come from court. "You're home," I said, forcing a smile. Finally. He didn't answer. Just walked into the living room, poured himself a drink, sat down and stared at me. Not angry. Not emotional. Just calculating. "You changed your hair," he said flatly. I laughed awkwardly. Yeah, needed a change. He nodded slowly. So did I. Something in his voice made me freeze. What's that supposed to mean? It means I'm done pretending this marriage isn't a performance. He said it so quietly I almost missed it. I try to keep my tone playful. Nathan, come on. You're blowing things out of proportion.
It was just a party.
He set his glass down. You made a toast to another man, called him your biggest supporter, while I stood in the corner watching. That wasn't a party, Isabella. That was a funeral. You just didn't notice who was being buried. I didn't know what to say. He stood, walked to the table, and placed a thick brown envelope in front of me.
My name was written neatly on it.
What's this? A reminder, he said. I opened it, our prenup. Only, it wasn't the version I remembered. This one was updated, signed, and notarized during the time we refinanced our mortgage last year. This isn't the same one we... It's the updated version, he interrupted. You signed it. You were busy that week, remember? Launching that campaign. You said, just tell me where to sign. My throat went dry. Nathan, what is this? Insurance. I flipped through the pages, my hands shaking. It basically said I wasn't entitled to anything. Not the house. Not his savings. Nothing. You can't be serious, I whispered. Completely, he said. You told me you trusted me with anything. I took your word for it. The confidence I'd been clinging to for years started cracking. He picked up his drink again, calm as ever. You always thought I was too quiet, too passive. You mistook that for weakness. He leaned in closer. You forgot I'm a lawyer, Isabella. Silence isn't weakness. It's strategy. Then he stood up and walked out of the room. That night, I barely slept. I kept replaying everything. The warning, the party, the look in his eyes when he said, "Happy birthday." But in the morning, I told myself I'd fix it. I always fix things. That's what I did best: talk, charm, spin. So I got up, made coffee, dressed in my favorite beige suit, and went to work like nothing happened. At 10:47 a.m., my phone rang.
It was Ethan.
He was screaming. I could barely understand him. The words were tumbling out too fast. What the hell did your husband do? Ethan, calm down.
What are you talking about?
He sent a disclosure to his firm, a conflict of interest report, with our picture attached. The ethics committee is investigating me. Do you have any idea what this looks like? My blood ran cold. What picture? The one from your party. The one where I had my hand on your waist. The one your friend posted on Instagram. I sat there, frozen. Nathan had seen it. He'd downloaded it. And he'd turned it into a weapon. Ethan kept yelling about investigations, client withdrawals, legal exposure. I barely heard him. All I could hear was Nathan's calm voice echoing in my head. It's not jealousy. It's a warning. I hung up and went to the break room, staring at my reflection in the stainless steel coffee pot. My hands were shaking. By noon, people in the office were whispering. HR called me in for a quick meeting. They asked questions, polite, rehearsed, professional, but their eyes said it all. They thought I'd slept my way up. When I got home that night, I tried calling Nathan. Straight to voicemail. I left message after message, trying to sound calm. We need to talk. You can't just nuke my career because you're hurt. No reply. The next day, it got worse. Someone, I still don't know who, leaked everything to a gossip blog called Corporate Confessions.
Headline:
When birthdays become evidence, how a marketing director ended her career with one Instagram post. They included my photo with Ethan. The comments were brutal. Homewrecker. Sleeping her way up. Another LinkedIn disaster. By evening, the post had gone viral. My inbox flooded. Clients started asking if I was still with the company. Ethan stopped answering my texts. I tried deleting everything: my posts, the photo, even my account. But it was too late. Screenshots live forever. When I finally called Nathan again, he picked up. His voice was calm, almost cheerful. You built your life on attention, Isabella. Now you get to live off it. You're doing this out of spite, I snapped. You're destroying both of us. No, he said quietly. Just you. And then he hung up. That's when I realized something terrifying. Nathan wasn't reacting emotionally. He wasn't out of control. He was in control. Every move was deliberate. Every silence planned. I didn't know it yet, but the dominoes were already falling. The firm launched a full investigation into Ethan's company. Clients started pulling out. HR started reviewing my file. And Nathan? He wasn't talking. He was watching. The next afternoon, Ethan showed up at my house, furious, sweating, panic in his eyes. Where is he? He demanded. Where's Nathan? At work, I guess. Why? He destroyed us. The firm froze our accounts. The board's calling an emergency meeting. This is a disaster. I stared at him, completely lost. Ethan, I didn't do anything. You think they care? He shouted. They've got photos of us. Your husband sent them. HR's asking questions about promotions, bonuses, everything. And then, like a nightmare playing out in real life, Nathan walked through the front door. He looked at Ethan like he was seeing a case file he'd already closed. Good morning, Ethan, he said politely. You ruined everything. Ethan snapped. We're finished because of you. Because of me? Nathan tilted his head. Or because you were stupid enough to mix fraud and flirtation? You smug son of... Careful, Nathan said calmly. You're standing on property that doesn't belong to you. Ethan turned red. I'd never seen him so unhinged. Do something, he barked at me. Fix this. Fix what? Nathan cut in. She already fixed it. For me. The words hit harder than any scream could. Ethan stormed out, slamming the door behind him. Nathan watched him leave, then turned to me. You might want to start looking for a new job, he said softly. Oh, wait, that's probably already being handled. And then he walked away. I stood there, shaking, staring at the door, realizing I didn't just lose my husband. I'd lost my shield, my reputation, my version of reality. I thought I was in control. But Nathan was the one pulling every string. I used to think silence meant weakness. Now it sounded like power. And for the first time in my life, I was afraid of it. There's a moment when the noise finally dies, when the calls stop, the messages fade, and you realize the silence isn't peace. It's punishment. For me, that moment came 3 days after Ethan's meltdown at my house. Monday morning, 9:03 a.m. I walked into the office like nothing was wrong. Straight back, neutral smile, perfect mask. That's what I'd always done. No matter what happened, I performed control. But that morning it didn't work. The second I swiped my company ID, the scanner blinked red. I tried again.
Red.
The security guard, Marcus, who'd known me for years, looked at me with that awkward sympathy people use when they're afraid to say something real. Morning, Mrs. Grant. Morning, Marcus. Is the system down? No, ma'am. He reached under the desk, pulled out a sealed envelope, and slid it toward me. They said to give you this. My stomach twisted. I tore it open right there in the lobby. Termination of employment, effective immediately. My hands started shaking before I even reached the signature line. At the bottom, printed in sharp black ink, were 2 words that stopped my breath. Authorized by General Counsel Nathan Grant. My own husband. I stood there, frozen, hearing the hum of office chatter behind me, pretending I wasn't falling apart in public. Marcus cleared his throat. Ma'am, I'm gonna have to. Yeah, I whispered. I know. I walked out of that building with every camera, every pair of eyes, burning into my back. Outside, the world felt louder. The sky too bright. Cars too close. I'd spent years building that company, fighting for promotions, networking, branding myself as this confident, unstoppable woman. And in one email, Nathan had erased me like a typo. I wanted to hate him.
God, I tried.
But deep down, I knew. I handed him the pen. That afternoon, Corporate Confessions posted a follow-up article. Update: Marketing director terminated after conflict of interest scandal. They even included a screenshot of my termination notice. Someone must have leaked it. My inbox exploded again. LinkedIn messages, fake sympathy, quiet gossip. The comments were worse this time. Actions have consequences. Girl boss turned gaslight. Red dress karma. I shut my laptop, threw my phone against the couch, and screamed until my throat burned. That's when Ethan called. They're freezing all accounts, he said. The board's pulling every file we touched. The investors are gone. The startup client withdrew. We're finished. Ethan, I didn't do anything illegal. I shouted. You think that matters now? He snapped. Optics are everything. You humiliated me, Isabella. I humiliated you? I laughed bitterly. You're the one texting me at midnight and showing up drunk to my party. Don't you dare turn this on me, he screamed. You dragged me down with you. You and your perfect lawyer husband. And then he said the one thing that made my heart stop. He knew exactly what he was doing. You were just too dumb to see it. The call disconnected. For hours, I just sat there on the living room floor, surrounded by silence. Nathan's side of the closet was empty. His files, his books, even his stupid coffee mug gone. But the house still smelled like him. Everywhere I looked, there was something he'd left behind, the faint trace of his order in the chaos I'd created. By evening, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't a call. It was a link from an unknown number. It led to a thread on Reddit. True off my chest, my husband just destroyed my career, and I deserved it. It wasn't mine. It was someone else sharing my story, my downfall as gossip. The details were so specific, they might as well have used my name. People were commenting things like, good for him. She needed to be humbled. In voices and silence. That man's my hero. I wanted to throw up. The internet had chosen its side. That night, I couldn't sleep. I paced the house like a ghost, replaying every memory. Our first anniversary. The nights I'd ignored him for work calls. The way he used to look at me when he still loved me, before the resentment took over. I realized something horrible. Nathan hadn't fallen out of love with me overnight. He'd watched me chip away at it, piece by piece, every time I dismissed his feelings as jealousy or weakness. And when it finally broke, he didn't explode. He strategized. He'd been planning this for months, maybe years. The updated prenup, the separate bank account, the quiet withdrawal, the timing of that conflict of interest disclosure. All of it methodical.
Perfect.
I used to think I was the smart one in this marriage. Turns out I was just the loud one. The next day, Ethan showed up again, this time looking like he hadn't slept in days. His hair was a mess, tie half undone, suit wrinkled. He barged in before I could even speak. Where is he?
Who?
Nathan. Why would I know? I snapped. Because he's tearing everything down. Ethan shouted. The firm found financial discrepancies. They're saying we manipulated earnings reports. HR's investigating me for misconduct. You need to fix this. I laughed bitterly. Fix it? I can't even fix myself. This isn't funny, Isabella, he yelled, grabbing his hair. Everything's collapsing. And then, as if summoned, Nathan appeared at the top of the stairs.
Calm. Composed.
Watching. Ethan froze. You, he hissed. You did this. I did my job, Nathan said evenly. When I saw an ethical conflict, I reported it. Standard procedure. You self-righteous. Watch your language, Nathan interrupted. You're already under investigation. Don't add trespassing to your list. Ethan's face went pale. You think you've won? You destroyed your own wife. Nathan looked at me, then really looked at me and said softly,
No, Ethan.
She destroyed herself. I just made sure there was documentation. I didn't move.
Couldn't speak.
Ethan stormed out, slamming the door. Nathan turned to leave, too. Nathan, please, I whispered. Can we just talk? I made a mistake. You made a series of choices, he said, voice calm but cold. This is the outcome. I still love you, I blurted. He looked at me for a long moment. Then you should have acted like it. And with that, he walked out. By the next morning, Parker and Wild Marketing announced internal restructuring, which was corporate code for implosion. Ethan resigned under personal circumstances. The company's shares tanked. People online started jokingly calling it the red dress scandal. Even my intern posted a meme. When your boss's birthday toast becomes HR evidence. It got 12,000 likes. The humiliation was complete. No friends. No job. No marriage. Just me, sitting in a house that wasn't even legally mine anymore. That evening, I heard a knock. When I opened the door, Nathan was standing there with a suitcase. For a second, my heart leapt. Stupid, desperate hope. You came back, I whispered. He didn't smile. Didn't step in. He just handed me a white envelope. What's this? Divorce papers, he said quietly. My throat closed up. Nathan, please don't do this.
You already did, he said.
He turned to leave, but before he reached the door, the bell rang again. A courier stood there, holding another envelope, official, stamped, government issued. He handed it to me. I opened it slowly. Legal notice. Repayment of performance bonuses totaling $130,000, issued under false earnings. Amount due immediately. The paper slipped from my hands. My knees gave out. Nathan didn't move. He just watched, not cruelly, not gloating, just done. You can't leave me like this, I whispered through tears. You left first, he said softly. And then he walked away. No yelling. No revenge speech. Just silence. I crawled to the doorway, sobbing, watching him load his suitcase into his car. He didn't look back once. The sound of the engine starting was the quietest goodbye I've ever heard. It's been 3 months now. The house is sold. I'm living in a small apartment with peeling paint and bad Wi-Fi. The job offers stopped after the story went viral. My reputation's radioactive. Sometimes, late at night, I still check his old LinkedIn. He's doing better than ever. Promoted. Respected. Untouched. And me? I scroll through my old birthday photos. The red dress, the champagne, the fake smiles. It all looks so beautiful. like a life that never really belonged to me. If you're listening to this and think cheating is just a mistake, it's not. It's a demolition. You just don't hear the walls cracking until they've already fallen. Nathan once told me he meant what he said with every fiber of his being. I should have believed him, because when he finally said goodbye, he didn't destroy me with rage or screaming or hate. He destroyed me with silence. And I deserved every second of it.